This is perfect as the Rams are rated as a top 3 seed in the NFC this upcoming season. We'll discuss how I feel about that. We're also talking about some potential free agents that are still out there that the Rams can and maybe should still look into signing. We'll talk about all that and much more on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Press that subscribe button now, as roughly 73% of you guys are watching videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. So do me a favor, press the subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, I want to get into this first story here. Top 3 seed in the NFC. This is kind of broken down to us from a analyst discussing the Rams, where the Rams may rank in terms of this season, how their season will go. This actually comes to us from the Rams Wire, but in turn coming to us from, I believe, let me get the details here for you. It's actually Touchdown Wires. Jarrett Bailey discussing this, as well as Fox Sports' Henry McKenna. These people are obviously all analysts breaking down the Rams, where the Rams can end up ranking. And, kind of interesting perspective, I think, right? NFL analyst predicts Rams to go 11-6 in 2025 season. Sorry, cut off the title there. In the NFC, this comes to us again from Cameron DeSilva of the Rams Wire, and we talked about this, right? I gave a record prediction for where I think the Rams can end up, and I'm looking at the Rams at about a 12-5 record. If you just look at their schedule, break it all down, win by win, week by week, loss by loss. Obviously, you don't think the Rams are going to lose any games this upcoming season. But when you got to be realistic and say, okay, we see how these NFL games go, how these NFL seasons go. If the Rams even have a rough start, or maybe they just lose games and drop games they shouldn't lose or drop, obviously that'll play a big factor in what their record would be. But if the Rams take care of business, have a couple of rough, close losses, and maybe drop a game or two they shouldn't, I can see the Rams still ending up with a 12-5 record, which to me would mean a top 3 seed almost guaranteed, right? And so that's kind of what we're discussing here on this article. Touchdown Wire's Jarrett Bailey is among the many analysts who believe the Rams are poised for a strong season, as evidenced by his record predictions for each team. He has the Rams going 11-6 and winning the West for the second straight season, earning the number 3 seed in the NFC. He has the 49ers going 10-7, the Cardinals winning 8 games, and the Seahawks finishing 5-12, which I kind of do agree with, by the way, a little bit. The Seahawks getting a little bit of hype from some media outlets out there, but I don't know how good they're really going to be. With the Rams and Niners being the 2 playoff representatives from the West, the Rams were mere plays from the Super Bowl this past season, and they just added Davante Adams to their offense. They will be in the handful of teams expected to win a Super Bowl. Fox Sports' Henry McKenna also had a similar outlook for the Rams, picking them to be the number 2 seed and win 3 playoff games, all against NFC teams, to reach the Super Bowl and lose to the Bills. So someone has us from Fox Sports, Henry McKenna, has the Rams already in the Super Bowl versus the Bills, maybe losing, but still making it that far. So clearly the Rams have a lot of hype around them. Obviously other analysts are looking at the Rams and saying, hey, they were that close to making the Super Bowl last year, just a few plays away from beating the Eagles. And then obviously would have had to face Washington to go to the Super Bowl, but ultimately people are looking at this and saying, look at that team, how good they were. Young defense, you expect them to get better. Now we're looking at their offense. They just added Davante Adams. This team could be the real deal. That is how I feel, but I do want to kind of emphasize and just remind everybody that, first of all, the Rams obviously have to go in and play and win games, but also the Rams had some rough outings last year. They had some moments where they looked a little bit rough, where the confidence from the fan base as a whole, generally speaking, was a little bit, shook at times, right? It was shaken because, taken aback a little bit because of how the Rams looked some games, and obviously toward the winter months, how good Matthew Stafford was. That kind of changed perspective, but ultimately that defense, as good as they were at the end of the season, were not that consistently good all year long, right? They weren't dominating, getting 9 sacks a game all year long, and so that has to be more consistent on the defense side of the ball. On the offense, we can't just assume Davante Adams is going to make this offense an incredible, unstoppable offense. There's still some work that has to be done. And why I'm saying this is because it kind of bleeds perfectly into what we're talking about next. And what we're talking about next is, look, there are top free agents still available. At the bottom bar on our base bar here with the Rams Digest, it has free agents every single day of current free agents, their experience, what they've done, their previous team, all that good stuff. So you guys have been seeing a constant running of free agents that are still available. We're going to talk about some of the top free agents currently still available that I think the Rams should at least look into potentially bringing into this roster and signing. Some of them a little more far-fetched than others, but we'll discuss some realistic free agent names I think the Rams really should truly still look into potentially signing. Starting off with the offensive line, a little more of the boring side of things, right? But we're talking about the depth of this offensive line. Dalton Reisner still out there, a guy who's played for the Broncos, played for Minnesota, dealt with some injuries for sure, but a veteran presence that I think can start for you in a pinch. That's kind of what the Rams need at this point in time. Probably won't cost you too much money, which is why he's still a free agent now, I'm sure. Maybe not really maybe wanting more than what's out there on the market. And so the Rams should give him a call, see where his numbers are, bring him in to potentially be that left guard or even maybe a kind of a swing type of guard for you, if you will. Someone who can play the interior of the offensive line for you. Dalton Reisner, still under 30 years of age. I think a good pickup for the Rams to add to this offensive line. And in a similar vein, we're talking about the offensive line depth. I think Brandon Sheriff, a veteran presence, a really veteran presence who's been in the NFL for quite a long time, played for many teams recently for Jacksonville. I think Brandon Sheriff would also fill that similar role of like, hey, he can play either side of the offensive line, interior of the offensive line, and obviously build up the depth of the interior of the offensive line. Kevin Dotson goes down, or Steve Avila, they go down. All of a sudden, you're feeling a little bit weaker on the interior of the offensive line. Let's prep for that now. Let's sign an interior offensive lineman to add to this offensive line depth. And then moving on to a different position group altogether, receivers, right? Yes, we signed Tutu Atwell for $10 million. You have Devontae Adams. You have Puka Nacua. That is enough, as well as Jordan Whittington being out there, right? But I think the Rams can just look into these couple next guys here, receiver here, receiver next as well. We're talking about Keenan Allen here from the Chicago Bears. Of course, at this point, Keenan Allen way far past his prime, but he's still a solid receiver. Looks pretty solid for the Bears last year. You can argue the rookie quarterback out there in Chicago obviously was the issue in terms of getting him the ball consistently. But overall, good receiver, still has the ability to play football, still a good veteran presence for you. And in my opinion, I would say, generally speaking, as an overall receiver, Keenan Allen is arguably probably better than Tutu Atwell, probably better than Jordan Whittington. And I think that's where Keenan Allen can come in, play that role of like slot receiver / hop out on the outside, switching around with Puka Nacua. I think that'd be a nice piece for the Rams to add. Receivers in general, I think, are a little bit far-fetched for the Rams. I don't think after paying Tutu Atwell $10 million, they're going to want to bring in someone that pushes Tutu down that depth chart. They paid him $10 million because they want him to play on the field. I think they're going to let him play on the field next year and be that third receiver for you, maybe fourth, if Jordan Whittington can kind of take a big step forward. I don't really think that's going to happen. So when we're talking about these receivers, I don't know if the Rams can really look into any of these guys. But here we're talking about Amari Cooper as well. Guy who can play in the slot, but also play a lot of outside. Puka can also play in the slot if needed. If you bring in a guy like Amari Cooper, who's consistently on the outside, then sure, bring in Puka into the slot. Again, swap him in and out with Puka. A little far-fetched. Don't think it's going to happen. This is one of those ones I'm like, give a call if you're interested in just kind of making this super stacked offense. Let's see what Amari Cooper's market is looking like. The Buffalo Bills obviously didn't really pan out for him. Wasn't really the best production-wise with Josh Allen, which is scary. But at this point, you can use that against him, sign him for a cheaper contract, see if he can be that third receiver for you. That would be like incredible in my opinion. I know Amari Cooper has some question marks around his health and obviously dealing with just not really playing well last year. But ultimately, I think he's still got something left in the tank. That'd be an interesting piece. Again, a little far-fetched. Don't think the Rams really will even give him a call on that one. Then moving on to the defensive side of the ball. This is going to be 3 defensive backs we are discussing. This is, of course, these are being ranked by Bleacher Report as of like a couple weeks ago. But these guys are still available now. So we're kind of discussing them as potential signings here. Justin Simmons, safety, right? We're talking about some size in the defensive back room. We're talking about a guy who can be a 6'3", 6'4" safety for you. Obviously, free safety, kind of dropping back into coverage type of player, can still tackle well. I think he played okay for Atlanta, added to that Atlanta defense. Obviously, at this point, past his prime. The Rams shouldn't really care about guys being in their prime right now, though. I always kind of see it as if you get enough pieces in their, past their prime that are on a Super Bowl contending team, they will show up and show out for that roster. Typically, it's the way it works, I think, in my opinion. If Justin Simmons is cheap, one of my favorite safeties in the league, I think more favorite safeties in the league, I think you should definitely look into signing Justin Simmons. Don't know if the Rams do it. They have quite a bit of safeties in that room already, but this would really add to the Rams' defensive back room. And then continuing in that same vein, talking about defensive backs, this is one I like more than the next one. Asante Samuel Jr. obviously dealt with like a bit of a stinger situation last year. Only played 4 games with the Chargers. If he wants to stay in LA, stay for a relatively cheaper deal, I think sign Asante Samuels. He'd be one of the better slot cornerbacks in the NFL. Also could play on the outside, by the way. Just because he's 5'10" doesn't mean he's just a slot, but he does play very well in the slot, can play outside as well. I think a very good cornerback that the Rams could add. I'd be ecstatic if they added a guy like Asante Samuel Jr. This would be that next push of like, yeah, that's a Super Bowl contending team if you added a player like Asante Samuel Jr. Similarly with this next player here, when we're talking about Rasul Douglas, a 6'2" cornerback as well. Again, another kind of conversation of saying this would take the Rams to another level. I'm not really as ecstatic about signing a guy like Rasul Douglas. I think he'd be more expensive. Same along the lines of Asante Samuel Jr. These guys are a little more pricey than the other veterans we kind of discussed. But if the Rams were able to find some money somehow, some way to make this work, Rasul Douglas or Asante Samuel Jr. take your defense to another level, in my opinion. Those are some free agents I think the Rams should look into and consider possibly signing, adding to this roster that really can compete for a Super Bowl, right? If you're going to compete, why not compete now? It's not going to be a 2-year thing where you're hoping that Stafford signs again. This is a 1 year. Let's go all in for the Super Bowl this year. Again, I think the Rams should go ahead and take that leap of faith with this year's roster. You let me know how you guys feel about any of those free agents down below in the comment section. Moving on from that, last but not least, we are talking about trivia of the day. My favorite part of the episode where I ask a trivia question. You give your trivia guesses down below in the comment section. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Last trivia of the day was this question posed here. Which the Rams franchise was originally founded in which city? We had quite a few people guess on this trivia of the day, so we're going to be a couple slides here. But the multiple choice options for you guys were A, Chicago, B, Los Angeles, C, St. Louis, or D, Cleveland. Again, the Rams franchise was originally founded in which city? We had a couple people play along and guess at home. I appreciate all of you guys for guessing. Here we had, start off with this one here. We had Freddie K saying Cleveland. We had Larry saying Cleveland. JLR saying Cleveland. Glider saying Cleveland. The real J Will saying pretty sure it's Cleveland. Crowherd saying Cleveland. We're going to move over here. D Cleveland from Jesse. We had Ted saying Cleveland. We had James Wilblock saying Cleveland. The Rams are one of the oldest teams established in Cleveland, 1937. Juan gives us some extra details there. Floyd saying Cleveland. Brian B saying I'm pretty sure it was Cleveland because I have an old football card with the Cleveland Rams I vaguely remember as a kid. And then Gary Combs saying Cleveland. You guys all here, shout out to everybody here who guessed and played along, all know your Rams trivia. Quite a bit of you guys played along at home. I appreciate you guys for playing along. Want to give some shout outs to every single one of you guys who guessed because it was 100% correct. With all these guesses being 100% correct, I am very, very impressed. Obviously, maybe some people could say an easy trivia question, but hey, if you aren't here in the comments, I can't sit here and say, oh yeah, you're right, it was an easy question. You didn't even guess. So if you didn't guess and you want to play along with today's trivia of the day, play along with this next question coming up next. This next trivia of the day is this question posed here. Which Los Angeles Ram was selected to a record 14 consecutive Pro Bowls? Which Los Angeles Ram was selected to a record 14 consecutive Pro Bowls? We have some multiple choice options for you guys here. Was it A, Eric Dickerson? Was it B, Deacon Jones? Was it C, Marshall Faulk? Or was it D, Merlin Olsen? Which Los Angeles Ram was selected for a record 14 consecutive Pro Bowls? Was it Eric Dickerson, Deacon Jones, Marshall Faulk, or Merlin Olsen? Give your guesses down below in the comment section. Again, whether you're right or whether you're wrong, we give a shout out on the next episode, so play along at home. Don't Google it, don't cheat. Let me know your guesses down below in the comments, and we'll shout you out on the next episode. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.